Crimson Dragon Realm, Qingye City. Crimson Dragon Realm, Qingye City. Yi Futian and his party came forward in a mighty manner and descended directly into the city lord's office of Qingye City. After that previous battle, the city lord's office still seemed to be in ruins. The ruins were exceptionally quiet. An exhalation of breath seemed to be released from the dilapidated remains of the city lord's office. Then Yi Futian saw a figure rise up into the sky. It was the previous city lord, Shen Tianzhan. Only Shen Tianzhan remained in the city lord's office. Everyone else was gone. The city lord has returned, Shen Tianzhan said to Yi Futian. He'd known that Yi Futian would come back sooner or later. This time, Yi Futian seemed to have brought a lot of people with him. The princess of Emperor Xia's realm, Xia Qingyuan, was among them as well. In addition, there were many cultivators from every plane, making the composition of the group even more complicated and mixed than it had been the last time. Elder, what is this? Yi Futian asked, looking at the ruins. Since Shen Tianzhan had stayed to wait for him, it meant that he still recognized Yi Futian as the city lord of Qingye City. However, if that was the case, why had Shen Tianzhan not ordered for repairs of the city lord's office? Moreover, why had everyone else disappeared? It seemed as if Shen Tianzhan was the only one left in this vast city lord's office. After the battle a few months ago, the cultivators of Emperor Xia's realm and Emperor Li's realm both withdrew. Xiang Nan saw that Qingye City was empty and wanted to take Qingye City for Emperor Xiang's realm. He ordered an attack to kill me. Not only me, but several principalities in Qingye City were also attacked by the people of Xiang City. Situ Zhong, the head of the Situ clan, was injured during these attacks. Many people lost their lives. I dismissed everyone from the city lord's office to prevent them from being harmed, Shen Tianzhan said. When Yi Futian heard what he said, his expression turned blank. In the past, during the battle between the two Renhuang realms, Xiang Nan had wanted to take the opportunity to profit, wanting to gain all the advantages without participating in the war, to use threats to put a squeeze on their resources. He had given him some, but he'd been far from able to satisfy Xiang Nan's appetite. On the day of the great battle, Xiang Nan had brought people to threaten them. However, Xia Rong's iron-wrought determination had deterred Xiang Nan. As soon as he'd made a move, he'd been caught up in the battle between the two Renhuang realms. The cultivators of Emperor Xia's realm would have killed him at any cost. Xiang Nan had not dared to make his move. Meanwhile, his followers had not been silly enough to interfere in the battle between the two Renhuang realms. But after the battle between the two Renhuang realms, they had returned to their respective lands. Xiang Nan had naturally anticipated that fightings would ensue within the two Renhuang realms which would set off a storm, so he'd thought of attacking Qingye City. Emperor Xiang's realm already required a considerable number of cultivators to guard the one city they occupied. They could not spare too many others to be dispatched to the Crimson Dragon realm to guard the two cities for a prolonged period. Just like Emperor Xia's realm and Emperor Li's realm, they did not have many who were of the Nirvana plane. They could not possibly dispatch them all to guard the Crimson Dragon realm. Therefore, it was more likely that Xiang Nan had wanted to vent the humiliation he'd suffered during the Battle of the Crimson River, during which he'd been scared by Xia Rong into not fighting, which had caused much of his indignation. As a result, he'd sent people to harass Shen Tianzhan, wanting him to submit and agree to defend Qingye City for Emperor Xiang's realm. However, Shen Tianzhan had resisted stubbornly, displeasing Xiang Nan considerably. Since Shen Tianzhan had been willing to surrender to Yi Futian but had refused to become an affiliate of Emperor Xiang's realm, one could imagine Xiang Nan's feelings about it. So, he'd repeatedly sent people to keep the city lord's office of Qingye City in a state of ruin. After Yi Futian learned what had happened, he said to Shen Tianzhan, "It's been hard for you. It's finally time to rebuild the city lord's office." "Very well," Shen Tianzhan nodded. He had previously promised to stay on as the deputy city lord because of the defeat, though it had not been a sincere surrender. But what happened later had made him realize that maybe, by standing beside Yi Futian, he would see things differently. On the contrary, Xiang Nan, the prince of Emperor Xiang's realm, was resentful because of his defeat at Crimson River. He'd even gone so far as resorting to retaliation and extortion. His villainous acts were far worse than anything Yi Futian had ever done. Shen Tianzhan would loathe to even be in contact with such a person, much less follow and obey him. No matter what, he was on the Nirvana plane, the last realm of the divine path. Suddenly, a surging wind rose up. A group of people was seen walking in the air in the distant void. They stopped a ways off and looked at Yi Futian and the others. Likewise, Yi Futian and Shen Tianzhan looked at them. They heard the leader of the group say, "Shen Tianzhan, we had given you many opportunities, and His Royal Highness had been unceasingly benevolent. Our paths are different. We cannot work together," Shen Tianzhan said to the people in the void. Yi Futian turned and said to them, "Go back and tell Xiangnan that if he wants Jianye City, send someone to come and fight me for it. If he dares not, then by all means, stay quietly in Xiang City." The messenger stared at Yi Futian. After a while, he turned to leave, thinking that the people of Emperor Xia's realm had arrived too soon. What had happened in the past did not seem to have caused a division inside Emperor Xia's realm. On that day, Crown Prince Xia Rong, Xia Qingyuan, and Yi Futian had clearly been divided into two different camps. But now, Yi Futian and Xia Qingyuan had returned together with reinforcements. This meant that Jianye City would most likely be entrusted to Yi Futian in the future. The people in Xiang City left, but Yi Futian's eyes still maintained their coldness. Xiangnan had once again exercised his old trick of profiting from others' misfortunes. He had no conscience and was not afraid to show it. The news of Yi Futian's return and the return of all the top forces of Jianye City soon spread. Situ Yen and Situ Zhong had both arrived as well. "Elder, I know about Xiangnan. I will settle the score with him on your behalf," Yi Futian said by way of greeting to Situ Zhong. "I am relieved to hear you say that, City Lord Yi," Situ Zhong responded. "I have also brought along some reinforcements to see if we can be of assistance." As he was speaking, Situ Zhong mobilized his people. Some of the top forces in Jianye City began working together to build the new City Lord's office. In the world of cultivators, the time spent building was extremely accelerated. In just a short time, a brand new City Lord's office rose from the ground. "Choose your place of cultivation," Yi Futian said as he walked toward the main hall of the City Lord's office. Xia Qingyuan chose a hall next to him. Yao Shi did the same as if she was intentionally competing with her. The other cultivators all chose their places of cultivation in the new City Lord's office. Those who'd come from the top forces of Emperor Xia's realm each set up a camp and chose an area in which to reside. Yi Futian faced the people next to him and said, "Little Butterfly, you should choose an area to be used as a medicinal pool and herb garden." Next to Little Butterfly was Saint Zhang's eldest disciple, Su Chehan. Not long ago when Yi Futian had taken the trip to the lower world, he hadn't only brought along his relatives. Saint Jiang had ordered Su Chehan, who had already entered the Saint Plane, to accompany him. The husband and wife, along with Little Butterfly, had followed Yi Futian and cultivated with him. In the days when the sacred war was being waged against the palace, Su Chehan had fully comprehended the way. Later, when he'd finally been able to enter the realm of the divine path by his own merit, Saint Jiang taught him everything he knew. The great teacher Su of today was no longer comparable to the one of the past. Furthermore, the resources of the Crimson Dragon realm were incomparable to those of the lower world of the 9 states. In the future, Su Chehan and Little Butterfly would need to collect better materials for treatments or medicinal baths. Yi Futian situated the people from the 9 states into one area. Yusheng, Yiqingxian, Wuchen, and Lu Chenyu, Gu Donglu, the second senior sister, and the rest were staying in the main house with Yi Futian. After all the arrangements were made, Yi Futian went over to Yaya and said, "Yaya, come with me." Yaya nodded, walking away with Yi Futian and Black Wind Condor. In Peacock City of the Crimson Dragon realm, Yi Futian found Kong Xian. Kong Xian was a little surprised by Yi Futian's arrival. She asked, "Are you looking for me?" "Yes." Yi Futian nodded. "There is a matter at hand that requires Princess Kong Xian's help." "What matter?" Kong Xian asked doubtfully. Beside her, Jialo Feng's eyes were extremely cold as he fixed his stare on Yi Futian. When he'd last been on the battlefield of Crimson River, his divine feathers had been plucked by Yusheng. This demonic beast of mine has some gifts in cultivation, but he can't seem to enter the divine path. I'm not very familiar with the cultivation of the demonic realm and want to send this little condor to the Peacock Demon Emperor's realm to cultivate. Therefore, I've come to ask for your help, said Yi Futian. Even though Black Wind Condor already knew what Yi Futian wanted to do, when he heard those words, the Black Wind Condor couldn't help but turtle up his neck and shiver uncontrollably as he stole a glance at Kong Xian. It was a truly crazy idea that might cost the little condor his life. Even Kong Xian was stunned for a moment. Her cold and sharp eyes swept towards the Black Wind Condor. While they'd been at the empty realm, the Black Wind Condor had not spared her any humiliation. Those words echoed in her head to this day. Kong Xian, come quickly to serve my lord. At the time, she could not wait to cut the Black Wind Condor into 1,000 pieces to quench the hatred in her heart. However, since she'd entered into sainthood, her state of mind had gone through some changes. Her hatred was not so strong anymore. That was why, when she'd first seen the Black Wind Condor, she had not immediately thrown a tantrum. She looked at Yi Futian coldly and said, Yi Futian, do you know what you are asking? Have her take this Black Wind Condor to cultivate? This Black Wind Condor whose mouth spewed out nothing but garbage? Does this dumb beast qualify? Jia Lo Feng asked mockingly. A sharp whistling sound came from the mouth of the Black Wind Condor. Suddenly, a great gust of wind whipped up. Its eyes glanced at Jia Lo Feng as its form morphed into a bolt of dark golden lightning and rushed toward him. The divine feathers of Jia Lo Feng glimmered brightly as the extremely sharp golden blades slashed towards them. The Black Wind Condor did not retreat. It turned into frightening lightning and thunder, its wings extended, cutting through the void. With a loud sound, Jia Lo Feng's body was thrown backward. The Black Wind Condor returned to Yi Futian's side in a radiant arc and glanced scornfully at Jia Lo Feng. The little condor possesses all the comprehension of my cultivation. It is very talented, but its entrance into the Saint Plane had been delayed. I don't know what should be done next, so I thought to send it to the Peacock Demon Emperor's realm, Yi Futian said. I know that there were several offenses made in the past, but those are inevitable on the battlefield. We beg the princess's indulgence in these matters. I want to send little Condor to the Demon Emperor's realm in the hopes of building a friendship, not a rivalry. Kong Xian looked at Yi Futian deeply, then nodded. Very well. Seeing that Kong Xian had agreed, the Black Wind Condor took a secretive look at her beautiful face and shivered again. Little Condor was unlucky. It had barely escaped the hands of the she-devil, only to face yet another danger. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Yi Futian revealed a smile. Since Kong Xian had agreed, she must be willing to resolve the grievances of the past. Yi Futian revealed a smile. Since Kong Xian had agreed, she must be willing to resolve the grievances of the past. This way, there would be one less powerful opponent in the future. In the chaotic Crimson Dragon realm, even though one may be endowed with excellent abilities, there were just too many strong cultivators from other major Renhuang realms. However, if there was no feud to settle, there was no need to make enemies. In fact, the grudge between Yi Futian and Kong Xian had always been him continuously bullying her, so it was natural that he did not mind letting go of the grudge and turning war into peace. Going forward in the Crimson Dragon realm, I hope that Princess Kong Xian will watch out for us. Yi Futian slightly bowed and appeared very humble. Kong Xian looked at him and asked, "Do you have time to stay?" Yi Futian was stunned for a moment. Kong Xian seemed to have made quite a leap. Is there something else required by the princess? Yi Futian asked. Fight with me, Kong Xian replied. Her eyes glowed with intensity as she stared at Yi Futian. Back when she had entered the divine path at the battlefield of Crimson River, she decided to forfeit and not to fight with Yu Xing, who was already on the Saint Plane. This had since caused her to feel some regret. Now that she had been on the Saint Plane for several months, and her cultivation had gained a firm foundation, she lacked a good opponent to help hone her fighting skills. She wanted to see what level her fighting power had reached. Yi Futian revealed a strange look. Looking at her cold face, he asked, That wouldn't exactly be appropriate, would it? They had just made peace. Why should that be followed by a fight? Kong Xian was indeed a cultivator of the Peacock Demon Emperor clan, whose affinity to fight was innate. There is a battle platform at my residence, Kong Xian said, eager to get going. Very well, Yi Futian said begrudgingly. Shall I go all out? He was weighing whether or not he should let it rip. Would it be better to restrain himself? If he beat Kong Xian violently, would he be adding new hatred onto the old? Of course. Kong Xian glanced at Yi Futian coldly as the two walked toward the battle platform. It didn't take long for earth-shaking sounds to start coming out of the city lord's office of Peacock City. Many buildings collapsed and their dust filled the air. Emerging from the thick dust was a handsome white-haired man. He cleaned the dust off his body as he walked away from the battle platform. From out of the dust, Kong Xian gradually appeared. She stared grimly at the departing figure, a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. The little condor shivered from the sidelines as he watched the scene play out. How did he cultivate his physical body? Kong Xian asked the little condor, regarding him with an icy stare. This was Yi Futian's demonic beast and must have the same mind as Yi Futian. This little condor would know how Yi Futian cultivated. I don't know exactly. The little condor shook its head decisively, not wanting to betray its master. Kong Xian released a coldness from her body as she walked toward the shivering little condor. It looked at her and said, Xia Qingyun gave him the method of cultivation. It should be Emperor Xia's. Xia Qingyun? Kong Xian stopped. It was possible. Xia Qingyun had access to many kinds of methods. With her help, his body-enhancing techniques would be the strongest. Yes. The little condor nodded in earnest. But Xia Qingyun always wore men's clothing. She is far less attractive than Princess Kong Xian in looks and figure. And her personality is violent and manic, not at all gentle and soft like yours, Princess. You are like a goddess from heaven. How would you like to be my mistress in the future? Your mistress? Kong Xian gave him a strange look. The little condor nodded seriously. Princess, you and my master are a match made in heaven. The princess may beat this condor without mercy, no need to spare it. Yi Futian's voice was heard from somewhere in the distance. Apparently, he knew what the black-winged condor was talking about. The black-winged condor screamed. When it saw Kong Xian walking his way, he was on the verge of tears. Afterward, there was a mix of violent screaming, pleading, and flattering, all rolled into one. The following period made the black-winged condor realize that Xia Qingyun was entirely too gentle. Yi Futian left the little condor in Peacock City and departed with Yaya. By sending the little condor to Peacock City, he hoped to resolve the grievances between himself and Kong Xian. It was also for the benefit of the little condor. It belonged to the demonic tribe and needed the tempering of its kind. He hoped that its luck would improve and that Kong Xian would send it to be taught by the great members of the Peacock Demon Emperor's realm to transform and cultivate. Yi Futian returned to the city lord's office of Qianye City and went to the newly built temple to cultivate. In the cultivation temple, he sat with his eyes closed, comprehending the omnipresent meaning of heaven and earth. There was a sacred radiance shining upon him. Its bright, shining light seemed to cast a matrix diagram surrounded by ancient characters around him. His body was in the center of the diagram. The might of the authority between heaven and earth seemed to be everywhere. A variety of different colors of the swordsmanship emerged, blooming around Yi Futian's body. Each color represented a different kind of swordsmanship. Inside his body, in the life palace, the ancient tree made a rustling sound. On top of the ancient tree, the colors changed until they converged into one color which flowed wildly into Yi Futian's body. At the same time, the splendid brilliance seemed to also turn into one color, integrating into Yi Futian's body like it was a furnace for refining. His body made roaring and booming sounds. The 5 elements of the Great Path were integrated into one. The universe returned to one as it refined the Great Path into one, fueling and strengthening the way. It was as if his swordsmanship had undergone transformation and sublimation. Moreover, this powerful swordsmanship resonated within the sanctified body. With a grasp of the palm, a force suddenly swept out, its violence extreme. If anyone faced it, no doubt they would find it difficult to breathe. The power of the deed of thorough comprehension was perfectly matched with his ability to cultivate. The master's vision could be described as extremely vicious. The ancient tree of the world seemed to be able to contain all things, and the deed of thorough comprehension aimed to temper the swordsmanship and sublimate it. The combination of the two allowed the refinement of many types of swordsmanship to form one that would be even more powerful after being sublimated. By using the deed of thorough comprehension to bring forth its full strength, its power became truly astounding. Moreover, he could always adjust the amount of swordsmanship that he wanted to release. As he stood up, Futian waved his hand and flexed his fists. Every move seemed to be perfectly natural, blended with the great path, one with heaven and earth. The sacred light pouring over his body was like showering in divine radiance. Each unleashed strike may not seem strong, but it contained a curious power that gave out a dull sound with each blast, swirling as if they were devouring black holes, disappearing in an instant. In Crimson Dragon Realm, the opponents he would meet in the future would be even stronger. That day in the Battle of the Crimson River, he discovered that the strength of some of the geniuses was already very strong, and that was just the tip of the iceberg in the Crimson Dragon Realm. Every year, such cultivators would be born. In the future, he would likely face many descendants of Renhuang, and the gap between himself as these people would get increasingly smaller. Even those that he would meet on the supreme path in the future might not necessarily be less powerful than him. Therefore, the higher the level, the harder he needed to cultivate. Futian left the cultivation temple and found Yusheng. It was time to send Yusheng to the regional palace to cultivate. Before long, a group of people arrived at the bank of the Crimson River. The crimson sky seemed to contain the mighty pressure of the great path. The Crimson River seemed like it was full magma. If anyone with weaker cultivation stepped into it, they would be burned to death immediately. Yusheng go, Futian said. Yusheng would soon enter into this most powerful spiritual holy land for cultivation. He would have the opportunity to touch the core of the Crimson Dragon Realm, the direct source of the Crimson Dragon Emperor's power. Yusheng nodded and walked into the void, traveling directly above the Crimson River toward the castle at the center of Crimson River. He knew what Futian wanted him to do. He would fulfill his mission by gaining a steady foothold in the regional palace. There, he would come into contact with the core forces of the Crimson Dragon Realm. As he walked forward, the Crimson Red Castle came into view. Someone was standing guard there, and Yusheng handed them the token he carried. As he stepped through the towering heaven's gate that rose high into the sky, he officially entered the regional palace. From a distance, the regional palace looked just like any castle. Inside, however, it was something unique, like a city suspended above the Crimson River. In front of him, the shadows of figures stood above the void, watching Yusheng's arrival as if they were waiting for him. Each one among them possessed an extraordinary temperament. They were standing there like a natural chasm, blocking Yusheng's path forward. They were all cultivators of the regional palace. Like Yusheng, they had also shared the victory of the Battle of the Crimson River and had entered into the regional palace with great advantages. I heard that the newcomer is very powerful and has overwhelmed many powerful opponents with his strength, including the brother of Xing Kai, someone said. The welcome ceremony at the regional palace was always a little unusual. Perhaps the people he faced were just very weak, a woman crossing her arms in front of her said with a smile. Her manner was elegant. From the first glance, it was easy to tell that she was of uncommon and noble birth. Above the castle, Xing Kai stood, watching silently. Yusheng walked by someone and said, "Move." The rule at the regional palace is that the newcomer who enters the palace must respectfully address the elders as senior brothers and sisters. Only then will the brothers and sisters will make way, the man said with a smile. There were no rules in the regional palace except that the strongest fist rules the palace. Yusheng had already discovered that the people who were standing in front of him were all on the realm of proving holiness, just like him. Yusheng tightened both of his fists. With a roar, an extremely violent magical power swept through the air instantly. Behind him, a world-toppling demon king appeared. Above the firmament, the magical power tumbled and roared like a demonic god. The people in front of him revealed a look of surprise. Although the newcomers who entered the palace all chose to fight, such direct and powerful newcomers were still in the minority. Now they wanted to see how many obstacles he could pass through. Whether Yu Sheng could get through the barriers or not would be his first test of entering the regional palace. It would also determine how much value he would have in the palace. This was the welcoming ceremony of the regional palace. Boom! Yu Sheng took a step that shook the void with a roar. The Crimson River roiled. The entire castle seemed to be bombarded by the sound of thunder. On the bank of the Crimson River, Futian glanced in the direction Yu Sheng had gone, then turned to leave. The road to the regional palace would be walked alone by Yu Sheng. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Futian and his party did not return to Qianye City after leaving Crimson River. They were still inside Crimson Dragon City. Futian and his party did not return to Qianye City after leaving Crimson River. They were still inside Crimson Dragon City. This first major city of Crimson Dragon Realm was extremely vast, with many wonders and cultivation places that were not seen in other Renhuang realms. It was not only in possession of a battlefield like the Rising Dragon platform, but also had other places of cultivation. The land west of Crimson Dragon Realm was where Futian and his party had gone. There were countless roads in front of them. These roads were like the branches of an ancient tree, extending to different places in every direction. A faint sense of heat was transmitted from the place. On each ancient road, people coming and going. The place was filled with cultivators. People of the Saint Plains seemed to be everywhere as well. Futian looked forward and raised his head slightly to look at the sky. He saw something like a floating castle. It was boundless, reaching high above the sky. Even the Holy Will was unable to reach it. The sun and its radiance shone down from the sky. Above the castle, divine golden birds could be seen flying in circles. Bright flames rained down, holier than one could imagine. Standing next to all of it, Futian and his party seemed incredibly small. When someone walked past them and set foot on one of the roads, it was as if they had stepped onto a branch. "Is this the divine Jianmu tree?" Xiaoshi whispered. One of the 4 legendary divine trees in the lore, the divine Jianmu tree could connect the heaven and the earth. It was able to reach the depths of the earth and high above the firmament so that heaven and earth were connected. Each of his branches was an ancient road. Together, it formed thousands of ancient roads that led to Jianmu City, the city which lay in front of them. The Crimson Dragon Army guarded Jianmu City. Standing above the void, they looked like an army from heaven. Jianmu City was a holy place for cultivation. It was also one of the largest trading posts in Crimson Dragon City. To enter Jianmu City, payment of spirit stones of the Great Path was required. Otherwise, one was not eligible to cultivate in Jianmu City. Furthermore, the price of admission was not cheap. Those who were weak and small in their cultivation simply could not cultivate for long in Jianmu City. Otherwise, Jianmu City would have become overcrowded a long time ago. "Go and feel it," Futian said. He walked over to the Crimson Dragon Army and paid the spirit stones required for everyone to enter. The group of people walked forward and entered a boulevard inside Jianmu City. The boulevard was lined with a lot of buildings that seemed to be no different from those on the outside. However, when you looked up at them, you would see a stout tree branch supporting a road above it. Furthermore, there was an extremely hot stream of air above the ancient tree like the flaming breath of the Great Path. Jianmu City reaches the sky and goes deep into the ground, absorbing the fire of the Great Path. The higher that Jianmu City reaches upward, the more prosperous the trading post will become. Many top forces have been taking shape inside Jianmu City over the years and taking root here. The more rooted they are, the more suitable for cultivation. It is said that, at the bottom of Jianmu, ordinary cultivators of the Saint Plain are unable to stay without getting burned up into ashes under the fire of the Great Path, someone behind Futian said. The one who spoke was Shinjun, the former young master of Qianye City. He'd always been very dashing and elegant, but now he was more subdued. He was acting as a guide for Yi Futian and his group, introducing the background of the Crimson Dragon realm to Yi Futian. After all, he'd grown up in the Crimson Dragon realm and knew much more about it than Yi Futian. Yi Futian nodded slightly, contemplating what kind of truth would be contained within the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. In the empty realm, the will of space hung in the sky. The Crimson Dragon realm was more powerful than the space will of the empty realm. This Crimson Dragon realm truly belonged to a world of flames. It was said that those who cultivated in the art of flames were extremely powerful. "Let's go up first," Yi Futian said, then looked at Luo Fan beside him. "Fifth senior brother, let's go see if there is a fire of the Great Path that is suitable for your cultivation." The number of flame cultivation methods in the Crimson Dragon realm was endless. Many top figures had refined it into a special flame of the Great Path which integrated the way into it. These flames were of great help to the future generations of cultivators. It could even be directly refined into the body. Learning to comprehend the divine path was of great help to one's cultivation. Although similar to Yi Wuchen's Renhuang sword will, the fire of the saint was not as strong as the Renhuang sword will, so it was quite suitable for Luo Fan, who was still a sage. The higher one went, the more they discovered that the world of cultivators was destined to be unfair. All of this was unimaginable in the lower world of the 9 states. How could one compare the speed and limits of cultivation? "I'm embarrassed to trouble my younger brother for money to spend on it," Luo Fan said. "That's right. After all, I, your younger brother, am also poor." "If that's the case, let's just not go," Yi Futian said jokingly. Luo Fan stared at Yi Futian with shock. He had not expected such a response from him. "We are all brothers of the same master. Helping each other is a matter of course. Since the younger brother is so sincere, then I will gladly accept it." Luo Fan hugged Yi Futian's shoulder, internally cursing him for being so tight with his wallet. The senior brother was clearly not as fortunate as the younger brother. "Of course, if you something that strikes your fancy, please pick out whatever you want. By the way, choose a gift for Miss Xian too," Yi Futian said with a smile. He'd been joking before. "That's the spirit. Don't forget how nice I was to you when you were young." Luo Fan exclaimed with a thumbs up. Yi Futian's face was a picture of confusion. When he was young? All right, perhaps 18 or 19 years old could be considered young. "Have you found a good place?" Yi Futian asked Shinjun. "What level do you want?" Shinjun asked. "The best," Yi Futian responded. Luo Fan's eyes lit up. When he looked at Yi Futian, he thought that his junior brother was even more handsome than ever. Heavenly Flames Avenue in Jianmu City is the most prosperous place for flame trading. Even Nirvana-level flames are not lacking there. Renhuang-level flames have even appeared there once, Shinjun said. Yi Futian nodded. "Let's go to Heavenly Flames Avenue then." "Okay, then we need to hurry." Shinjun nodded. His body flickered as he led the way. Yi Futian and his team followed behind. They all traveled fast as they shuttled through Jianmu City. Jianmu City was considered a renowned city for a reason. When all the areas above and below the surface, it was much larger than a city as large as Qianye City. Therefore, one could only imagine just how massive this ancient tree that connected the world was, or that it was still growing. In Heavenly Flames Avenue was a huge, wide-open square where many cultivators gathered to trade. There were a lot of shops in the square, many of them temporarily built by the cultivators. Outside of these shops were engraved signs displaying what items were available for trade. Of course, there were also some large, permanent structures that were used for long-term trading. The Tower of Heavenly Flames on Heavenly Flames Avenue, for example, belonged to a major force with many invaluable flames of the way. At the moment, many cultivators were assembled in the Tower of Heavenly Flames. Yi Futian and his people had just arrived. There were many flame furnaces inside, all of which contained the flames of the way. Above the furnace, the name of the flame of the way, its grade, and its abilities were listed in great detail. The cultivation of flames in the Crimson Dragon realm was considered the epitome of the Crimson Dragon region. The classification and grade of the flames here were finer than anywhere else. Purple flame, unblemished medium-grade flame of the way, aggressive attacking power with a strong ability to break defenses. Yi Futian looked at a flame furnace. Inside, a purple flame was making a sharp sizzling sound. Tiny bolts of lightning could be seen inside the flame. After cultivators entered the Saint Realm, if they majored in the flames, they would temper the flame of their great path, making them physical, multiplying their power, and refining them to contain great swordsmanship. The fire of the golden flames, unblemished upper-grade flames of the way, aggressive attacking power with the ability to melt anything. Good for attacking, forging armors. In yet another flame furnace, the golden flames shone brightly, lighting up the flame furnace with extremely bright golden flames. This would be more suitable for Gongsun Xian, but she came from Divine Kud Valley. Presumably, this grade of flame of the way would not be a great help to her, Yi Futian whispered. Gongsun Xian's origin meant that she had tremendous spiritual resources of her own. In addition, her grandfather had reached the Nirvana plane. The flame he possessed could be tempered into the flame of Nirvana. The flames of the way in this area were artificially made. The flames of the way on the other side were formed naturally, Shinjun explained. Of course, there was no absolute advantage or disadvantage to choosing either. It was all dependent on the person who refined the flame and the strength of the natural formation. Yi Futian and his party continued their search for an even stronger flame of the way. They came across another flame furnace. Inside, the flames seemed dim and ghostly like a shadow. The ghostly flame of the way, Nirvana mid-grade, possesses a strong sense of destruction. Its ability to burn and destroy souls was given by the Nether Saint Lord, said the line of writing engraved on the outside of the furnace. As Yi Futian walked past the Tower of Heavenly Flames, he felt a dizzying sensation and some interest. The flames here were too strong. By comparison, the unblemished flames of Wei did not appear so precious. In fact, Yi Futian had also cultivated in flaming ability. Not just the flame, he'd also cultivated many other kinds of abilities and comprehended all kinds of will. However, because many abilities were limited by magical powers, they were not strong enough. In fact, there was no absolute strengths or weaknesses between the kinds of will. Any kind of will could be cultivated to its highest level. Yi Futian wondered if he could pick up some of them to cultivate. Senior brother, choose the one that suits you, Yi Futian said to Luo Fan. Stronger was generally better, but it still needed to fit Luo Fan's ability to cultivate to be effective. For example, for those with extraordinary birthrights, if their forefathers had cultivated certain kind of flames, or even passed them on into the life spirit, they could inherit them in the form of comprehension, saving themselves half the trouble. Beggars can't be choosers. Let's just make do, Luo Fan said casually. However, his action was pretty deft. He pointed at a flame and said, "That's it." Yi Futian saw the grade of the flame he wanted and felt a pinch in his heart. He said, "Senior brother, you don't want to spare me any expense. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Yi Futian felt rather speechless as he looked at the forceful elder. He knew that what he'd said was the truth, but the trade depended on whose needs were stronger. The elder was not in a hurry to sell it off, and others wanted to trade him for it. Unless there was a high demand for the product, the elder wouldn't have dared to negotiate in such a manner. If Yi Futian were to set up a shop selling methods of such levels, he would be asking for at least as much as the elder. With that thought, Yi Futian seemed to have chanced upon a way of getting rich. However, on his plane, if he simply traded holiness of nirvana level methods without a care, he might as well be painting a target on his back. Why would there be a need to trade if one could just take what they wanted by force? After all, the Crimson Dragon realm was a largely lawless place. "All right, we'll just go elsewhere," Luo Fan said, clearly frustrated. "What do you think about this method then, senior?" Xia Qingyuan interjected from the side. She then sent holy will into the elder's mind. The elder nodded and said, "You could take the flames for 2 methods." "That will do." Xia Qingyuan took out the method she'd used and looked at Yi Futian, who then took out a manual copy of the Sword of Cassiopeia and handed it to the elder. The elder checked the goods and then nodded, handing the furnace to Yi Futian. He said, "The furnace itself is one the top-of-the-line containers of flames. It would have melted under the powers of the flames of the way a long time ago otherwise. You people are getting quite a bargain here." Yi Futian took the furnace and handed it to Luo Fan before turning to Xia Qingyuan. He said, "Thank you, Princess. I still have other methods with me though." There were many methods to be found in the Golden Hall of the Lotus in Emperor Xia's palace, but the truly top-of-the-line ones were kept in private collections by the royal palace. Even if he were to have seen them, there was no way he could have traded with them. However, if Xia Qingyuan were to do so, then it naturally would not be a problem. "Never mind. It's all the same," Xia Qingyuan said plainly. The elder looked at the two of them and speculated about their identities. Princess? But then again, all kinds of people could be found in Crimson Dragon City. The place was the biggest and greatest city in the Crimson Dragon region after all. Luo Fan took a look at Yi Futian, impressed by his little brother's capabilities. They were far above his own abilities. He sure couldn't measure up to him. "Yi Futian," someone called out. Yi Futian turned and saw someone familiar. He quickly recalled who the man was. It was the man who had fought Yu Xing, Wu Chen, and the others in the Battle of the Sleeping Dragon, Zhuo Su of the Black Flames clan. He was a native of Crimson Dragon City. Zhuo Su took a look at Yi Wu Chen. Those who had lost to him in the past had since become saints at the Battle of the Crimson River. Yi Futian nodded with a smile, not wanting to engage him in conversation. Zhuo Su then took one look at the flames that Luo Fan was putting away. In truth, Zhuo Su had always wanted the consuming flames of the way. He wanted to consume it to strengthen his flames. However, his family wouldn't grant him two top-notch methods to exchange for it. Their flames of the way were powerful to begin with, so they were reluctant to cover such expenditures. Yi Futian, Lord of Qianye City? Many turned to look at Yi Futian curiously. After the battle between Li City and Qianye City, as well as the Battle of the Crimson River, the city lord of Qianye had gained quite some renown. Of course, his renown paled in comparison to that of Yu Sheng, who had practically steered the direction of the entire Battle of the Crimson River. A battle between two cities was a big event involving two imperial realms. However, the attention attracted by such battles could not compare with the Battle of the Crimson River. That battle had enabled the winner to enter the regional palace. Plus, the Battle of the Crimson River had been fought in the Crimson Dragon City. "We'll take a look elsewhere," Yi Futian said as he walked out of the Tower of Heavenly Flames. However, there were still many people around who had come out to take a look at him. Some were heard saying Yi Futian was bickering with Xing Kai back at the Battle of the Crimson River. It was quite a pity that they didn't end up fighting each other. Yu Sheng's talents were unparalleled. He seemed to listen to this guy a lot. How would Yi Futian compare to a devil like Yu Sheng? Many talked about this. Many cultivators on Heavenly Flames Avenue turned to look at Yi Futian as well. Xing Kai of the ancient imperial city was extremely renowned, even in Crimson Dragon City. Xing Kai would become a renowned figure in the Crimson Dragon realm in the future. Furthermore, the ninth servant, the city lord of ancient imperial city, was also a legendary figure. He was lauded as the #1 city lord outside of Crimson Dragon City. Yi Futian did not bother with what the people around him were saying. People of renowned clans were commonly seen in a place like Crimson Dragon City. For instance, Zhuo Su was a descendant of a Renhuang, yet people had stopped paying him any attention soon enough. "Are you looking for flames of the way, my friend?" someone asked, causing Yi Futian to turn around. An old man was setting up a street stall in the middle of the busy Heavenly Flames Avenue, making him stand out of the crowd. The old man's aura appeared to be very weak. The grades of flames he was selling in his stall were all of the very low grades. No one walking about was paying him any attention. Yi Futian smiled and nodded, saying, "I'm indeed looking for flames of the way." "Why do you ask, sir?" "I have some here," the old man said, beckoning Yi Futian's party over to his stall. Yi Futian took one look at the flames in the old man's stall. They were like comparing gold and dirt when he thought of the quality flames being sold at the Tower of Heavenly Flames. There was no need to compare them at all. However, Yi Futian nonetheless walked up to the old man and said, The levels of these flames are rather low. They would be of little use for my friend's training. I do have higher level ones if that's what you're looking for, but I don't know if you'd dare to take them, the old man said to Yi Futian with a smile. Yi Futian looked at the old man and noticed how alert and cautious his eyes were. Although the old man looked frail and had little aura to speak of, Yi Futian was able to tell that the old man was very adept at concealing his true abilities. He had been quietly sitting there before with no one bothering him. He had not been trying to bother anyone either. Yi Futian wondered why the old man had decided to call out to him. If the prices are good, I don't mind taking them, Yi Futian said. You can have them for free. The old man flashed a beaming smile. His teeth were rather yellow and somewhat unsightly. Yi Futian looked even more puzzled. Free? There were a lot of situations where free things turned out to cost the most. They often required payment in other forms. What conditions do you have then, sir? Yi Futian asked. I have none. The old man shook his head. Yi Futian felt rather puzzled. He was unable to read the old man. That was why I asked if you would dare to take them, the old man said somewhat aggressively. I don't dabble with what I know nothing about, Yi Futian said, bowing to the old man. I shall take my leave. The old man looked very mysterious. Yi Futian thought that it would best to exercise caution in a place like Jianmu City. Are you sure you don't want it? A voice with a terrifying aura cried out all of a sudden, sweeping all over the heavenly flames avenue. Its scorching will made everyone turn around in an instant. Yi Futian was no exception. He saw the old man holding a ball of flames of the way which glittered brilliantly. They contrasted with the rays of the sun above in mystical ways. The three-legged golden ravens in the sky over Jianmu City cried. The old man put the flames away in just an instant, smiling at Yi Futian. He said, I'm giving them away to you. Do you dare to take them? Renhuang flames of the way. Yi Futian stared at the old man and then looked around the avenue. Countless pairs of eyes had turned toward him in an instant. The old man whom no one had bothered with before had suddenly attracted the attention of everyone in the area. That flames of the way were being given away for free. The eyes of countless people were burning brilliantly, Yi Futian included. However, flames of such levels would be difficult to hold onto. It was no surprise that the old man had asked him if he dared to take it. What he was unable to fathom was why the old man was trying to give the flames to him for free. There was no way that they knew each other. I'll take it, Yi Futian said. If that old man said that he was willing to give Renhuang level flames away, then it would be up to Yi Futian to choose how to deal with it. If he was unable to keep it around, he would simply sell it. He walked up decisively, the people around him following him, concerned that the old man was up to no good. However, that old man simply chucked the flames into the furnace and handed it over to Yi Futian, who accepted them right away. He then looked at the old man and said, Since you've said you're giving it to me, then it's up to me to decide what to do with it, right? Of course, I wouldn't hold it against if you just gave it someone else. So long as you're willing to take them from me, that is. The old man looked at Yi Futian with a beaming smile. That look gave Yi Futian a bad feeling. The old man waved and put the entire stall away before disappearing in a flash. Many formidable auras turned in Yi Futian's direction as soon as the old man left. Yi Futian frowned and thought that the flames would indeed be difficult to hold on to. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Yi Futian watched as the old man disappeared and the people in the square closed in on him. However, none of them dared to try to take the flames from him by force. Yi Futian watched as the old man disappeared and the people in the square closed in on him. However, none of them dared to try to take the flames from him by force. Yi Futian, the lord of Qianye City, was backed by Renhuang forces, making him a difficult person to take on. Furthermore, it appeared that the princess of Emperor Xia's realm was with him. Do you mind if I have a look at those flames of the way? Zhuosu of the Black Flame clan asked. Yi Futian took a look at him and said nothing in reply. Those flames would cause quite a commotion if they were exposed. It would be a bad idea to take them out so casually. While there was no doubt that they would be something difficult to hold on to, The flames were in his hands and he had no intention of letting them go. "Let's go," Yi Futian said with a low voice, getting ready to leave the area. They had attracted way too much attention. However, a powerful aura seemed to be sweeping from far away at that moment. One figure after another streaked over Heavenly Flames Avenue, locking their eyes onto Yi Futian. An elder took one step and sent scorching will all over the place. He grabbed at the space before him and will of the great path of flames roared, transforming into a great fiery dragon that lashed out at Yi Futian's party. Yaya stepped out and appeared right before everyone in the party. She waved her hands and sword will shrouded the entire area. Terrifying ringing sounds were heard as a screen of swords appeared before Yaya. The dragon was blocked by the screen, yet it remained adamant in breaking through them as it roared. The people around retreated and scattered in a hurry. The elder continued moving forward, his robes billowing. He waved his arms, conjuring one dragon after another in the air. All of them roared as they charged at Yi Futian and his party, trying to engulf everything within the vicinity in the flames. Yaya took to the air and was immediately surrounded by sword will. It turned into streams of flowing light in an instant, heading straight for the dragon as she placed the area on lockdown. Terrifying clashing sounds rang through the air. The great path shuddered as more and more mighty beings showed up, all trying to surround Yi Futian's party. Several people acted at the same time, manipulating flames of greater magnitude to attack Yaya. The screen of swords blocked out the sky as it shrouded everyone within. Yaya was forced one step back. She scanned the people around her with eyes as cold and sharp as swords. The space above them was completely taken over by swords and flames. Yi Futian and his party were trapped. A group of people approached them. All of them looked rather young, especially the person taking the lead. Their leader was a woman dressed in fiery red clothing. She looked to only be 25 or 26 years of age, yet the aura emanating from her was unmistakably that of a saint. She was elegant and stunning. Her fiery red robes billowed as she turned to look at Yi Futian and the others. All eyes turned towards her. Many immediately recognized who she was and where her group came from. She was a member of the Shi clan, a top-notch clan that was an early founder in the establishment of Crimson Dragon City. The Shi clan had been in Jinmu City for many generations and was incredibly powerful. They owned many properties and controlled many industries in Jinmu City. The leader of the Shi clan was known as the Saint Lord of Juyang, one of the figures at the pinnacle of Crimson Dragon City. His powers were unfathomably profound. Her group consisted of mighty members of the Shi clan. The woman who was leading them was none other than a direct descendant of the founder of the clan. Shichan looked at Yi Futian's party with a cold expression and said, "Hand over the flames." Yi Futian frowned. He hadn't expected to get into real trouble so quickly, but there was no denying how forceful these people were. They were forcing him to hand over the flames right away. At that moment, Yaya, who was still in the air, sent sword auras to tear the dragons apart. The fires of the great path roared and then disappeared with the sword will. Their opponents did not continue attacking. They instead surrounded Yi Futian's party. Many of the people on Heavenly Flames Avenue retreated quite a distance away to watch what was happening from safety. "What do you mean?" Yi Futian took a look at them. "You want to take my things without even bothering to talk first? Man, you guys are harsh. Hand over the flames and then we'll talk," Shichan said. "Shichan, I heard that the flames of the way were stolen. Are these the people behind the theft?" A member of Shichan's party asked. The young person took a look at Yi Futian's party and said, "What is there to talk about with the thieves? We should take them down right now." "Thieves?" Yi Futian frowned. From what this young person said, these flames had been stolen from the woman before them. The old man must have stolen them and given them away immediately after. "Head back to the clan with us. If you're able to explain yourselves adequately, you might be able to leave with your lives intact," an old man standing beside Shichan said. His eyes seemed to be imbued with fire as he looked at Yi Futian's party. His words were extremely forceful. That flames of the way were of the Renhuang level, so they were very precious to them. In truth, those flames were more trouble than they were worth. All the most powerful forces in the Crimson Dragon realm were after them. I'm afraid that there is some misunderstanding happening here, Futian said. If you're talking about the flames that caused all that ruckus earlier, they were given to me by an old man just moments ago. Many people on the avenue saw it happen and will be able to serve as witnesses. You should consider that before you call us thieves. Shi Chan's eyes sparkled as she turned to look at the crowd on the avenue behind them. Someone called out, "It happened just like he said." Shi Chan's expression changed after that. She locked her gaze onto Futian and asked, "Why would the star-plucking hand just hand over the flames to you? What is your relationship with him?" Many gasped at Shi Chan's words. Whispered gossip broke out all along the avenue. That old man who had gifted the flames to Futian was the star-plucking saint? Shen Jun's expression shifted as well. He telepathically explained to Futian, "That woman is a member of the Shi clan, the most powerful force in Jinmu City. The star-plucking hand is the nickname of the star-plucking saint, an extremely powerful figure. He has reached the holiness of nirvana and is capable of reaching unparalleled speed, making many great transformations, and wielding formidable combat abilities in battle. He is one of those few people who even the most powerful figures in Crimson Dragon Realm would hesitate to mess with. Anyone who dares to mess with him will find themselves down on their luck. Furthermore, the star-plucking saint is a weird guy who keeps to himself. He has stolen some of the most precious treasures from the most powerful clans in Crimson Dragon City. No one to date has been capable of capturing him." He felt that the case was very weird. The star-plucking saint could have simply taken what he'd stolen from the Shi clan away without making a fuss. The Saint Lord of Jiuyang of the Shi clan, despite being extremely powerful, was utterly incapable of capturing the star-plucking saint. The two men were probably more or less equal in power. No one could tell who between them was the stronger one. Even if the star-plucking saint simply took the goods by force, there was nothing the Shi clan could do about it. The saint was a loner and there was no way the clan could get their hands on him. He'd handed the flames to others right in front of everyone on Heavenly Flames Avenue and no one had recognized him. That in itself was a testament to his frightening ability in the art of transformations. It was apparent that the star-plucking saint had masked his aura and changed his appearance. Shen Jun didn't understand why he had given the flames to Futian. How should I know why he gave the flames to me? However, since he gave them to me, the flames are mine. All of you showed up and attacked us right away, accused me of being a thief, and even declared that I would only live if I explained myself adequately. I'm afraid you are not much better than thieves yourselves, Futian said coldly. Shi Chan frowned slightly and said, "If things happened as you say, then it is indeed a misunderstanding. However, the flames of the way were indeed stolen from my clan by the star-plucking hand. If you're willing to return them, then we shall call it a day. Return it and call it a day." Xia Qingyuan's expression turned extremely cold after hearing what the other party said. She then responded, "You people attacked us and accused us of being thieves. Do you think we can just let that slide?" Whether the other party was telling the truth or not, the flames had nonetheless been given to them by that old man. The other party should have been thankful if they were willing to return the flames instead of demanding them back. Furthermore, they said that they would call it a day after the flames were returned. It was as if they were saying that they were doing Futian's party a great service by not bothering with his people anymore after that. Furthermore, what is the nature of the flames and how can you prove that the flames are yours in the first place? Futian retorted. If the other party didn't want to bother with being courteous, he saw no need to be polite with them. Although the flames had indeed proven difficult to hold on to, they would not simply let go of them just because of what the other party had said. Worse still, the other party had demanded the flames back instead of asking for them politely. Boom! Raging fires burst out everywhere. The elder from Shi Chan's clan hovered toward Futian's party, getting ready to strike. So, they were going to take the flames by force? If you think you can take the goods by force, I can guarantee that you all will pay a greater price, Xia Qingyuan said, eyeing the people right in front of her. Shi Chan, they are from Jinya City, Zhuo Su reminded her. All those who had been preparing to attack the group frowned. The Shi clan had paid attention to the Battle of the Crimson River at the regional palace. Even though the battle between the two imperial realms had taken place outside of Crimson Dragon City, they had nonetheless caught wind of the news. These people were from Emperor Xia's realm? That meant that the powerful woman must be the princess of Emperor Xia's realm. Shi Chan's eyes landed on Xia Qingyuan. She had great renown in the Crimson Dragon realm and was considered quite a legend on her own for her extremely exceptional talents. Shi Chan's eyes seemed to have been imbued with scorching flames as she glared at Xia Qingyuan, unfazed by the princess's identity. Even the Renhuang forces of other realms commanded limited power in Crimson Dragon City, especially where top forces like the Shi clan were concerned. But then again, they would not go out of their way to severely offend those of other imperial realms. Doing so would pose a grave threat to the native forces of Crimson Dragon City. Those flames belong to the Shi clan. You all might be of other imperial realms, but it will still be impossible for you to take the flames away. Shi Chan glared at Xia Qingyuan and appeared extremely powerful. While foreign imperial realm forces were extremely powerful, the majority of their forces were not in the Crimson Dragon realm. If the Shi clan insisted on keeping these people around, there was no way they could simply leave. It was impossible to simply walk away with those flames. Even if those of the Shi clan refrained from taking the flames by force, there was still no way Yi Futian and the others could call for help from Emperor Xia's realm. If that course of action was possible, conflicts like these would be settled in such a manner from then on. The number cultivators who had reached the holiness of nirvana level from imperial realms were far fewer than those in the Crimson Dragon realm. Mobilizing those saints was more difficult than it seemed to be. Furthermore, even if such saints were mobilized, the forces of foreign imperial realms could not simply act against the native forces without ample reason. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Jianmu City was the home territory of the Shi clan, meaning that Xia Qingyuan and the others were at a disadvantage. Jianmu City was the home territory of the Shi clan, meaning that Xia Qingyuan and the others were at a disadvantage. That was why Shi Chan was daring to be so forceful and insisting on keeping them around. However, while the forces of other imperial realms were incapable of doing as they pleased in Crimson Dragon City, the native forces didn't dare to act rashly either. Xia Qingyuan did not balk at all and forcefully retorted. Many of the people on Heavenly Flames Avenue witnessed what transpired personally. The flames were gifted to us by an old man. If you insist on being so forceful, then bring the old man here. If he told us to hand over the flames, we would comply without question. As for you people, we did not get the flames from you. Do you think that we'll just hand them over because you say that the flames are yours? If these people had spoken to them nicely and proved that the flames were indeed theirs, Yi Futian and his people would have considered returning them to them. However, there was no way they would hand them over just because the other party claimed that the flames were theirs. Furthermore, these people had attacked as soon as they'd arrived and had behaved extremely rudely and forcefully. They'd also voiced their intentions of taking down Yi Futian's party out loud. In this case, it was simply impossible for Yi Futian's party to hand over the flames. Both parties stayed in a deadlock for quite some time, neither of them giving way to the other. Both women, Shi Chan and Xia Qingyuan, were extremely powerful people. A new group of people approached them. They emanated extremely powerful auras and wore Crimson Dragon robes, making it obvious that they were part of the Crimson Dragon army and tasked with maintaining public order in Jianmu City. Jianmu City was part of Crimson Dragon City. Within Crimson Dragon City limits, the Crimson Dragon army served as the absolute peacekeepers. A fight had broken out there and caught their attention. Commander Mu. Shi Chan bowed slightly to the leader of the army. It was obvious that she knew the commander. The Crimson Dragon army of Jianmu City had been stationed there for many years. There were 9 lieutenants and 2 commanders. Commander Mu was one of the 2. He was tasked with managing the upper regions of Jianmu City. What happened? Commander Mu looked at the opposing forces and asked. A figure arrived in a flash of light and reported to the commander what had transpired. Commander Mu then looked at Yi Futian and his group after finding out who they were. It was said that Yu Sheng of Qianya City had entered the regional palace by overpowering all the mighty being there. He could become one of the commanders of Crimson Dragon City someday. There was a great possibility that he would join the Crimson Dragon Army's ranks one day. Shi-chan, how can the Shi clan prove that those flames are theirs? Commander Mu looked at Shi-chan and asked, how did the Shi clan come to possess the flames? Commander Mu, those flames of the way indeed belong to the Shi clan. A figure appeared in midair at that moment. A fiery aura swept out through the air. A legendary figure appeared, looking as brilliant as the sun in the sky. He seemed to have the sun on his back. He was blindingly bright and nearly impossible to look at. It was the Saint Lord of Jiang of the Shi clan. However, this was probably only a projection of his will rather than his true self. Commander Mu looked at the materialized specter and said, there has never been a Renhuang in the ranks of the Shi clan, Zheng. Those flames are of the Renhuang level, so that means they were acquired elsewhere. By my logic, I'm afraid no one would have traded those flames away without good reasons. It was apparent that Commander Mu had a good guess as to the origins of the flames. The Saint Lord of Jiang frowned. Commander Mu then looked at Xia Qingyuan and asked, the Shi clan claims that the flames are theirs. Would you be willing to return it? No, Xia Qingyuan answered decisively. Very well. Commander Mu nodded. One side wants to take the flames while the other side refuses to give it up. In that case, the Shi clan is free to take the flames by force, but do not cause too much of a commotion in Jinmu City. Furthermore, if you people clash with them in the future over the flames, the Crimson Dragon Army shall not interfere with matters between your parties. You are free to do as you please with each other. Crimson Dragon City had rules that forbid haphazard killing. In truth, Crimson Dragon City was the safest city in the Crimson Dragon realm because it was the only place where rules were firmly enforced. That was because those rules had been laid down by the Crimson Dragon Emperor himself. Everyone had to obey them. Anyone who broke those rules would be dealt with by the Crimson Dragon Army. However, at present, the Crimson Dragon Army was there simply to mediate the conflict between the two parties. Since neither of the parties was in the mood to make compromises, the commander saw fit to let them deal with the conflict on their own. The Saint Lord of Jiang looked down at those below him until his eyes fixed on Xia Qingyu. If a conflict breaks out between your parties, none of us will have anything to gain from it. What would it take for you to return the flames? Those flames were rather important to them. It was about more than the flames being left behind by a Renhuang. If the flames had only been left behind by a Renhuang, the Saint Lord would not have bothered making an appearance. Since you people sought to overwhelm us through sheer force, there is naturally no way we will return the flames. Xia Qingyuan looked at the Saint Lord of Jiang coldly. If he had been a top-notch figure who didn't belong to any group, he would have been tricky to deal with. However, since he was part of a top-notch clan, then he did not dare to make a move against her. Overwhelm you through sheer force, eh? The Saint Lord of Jiang looked at Xia Qingyuan and said, Shi-chan. Yes, sir. Shi-chan looked up at the Saint Lord. If Princess Xia here thinks that we are simply throwing our weight around, you should fight her. After all, you are on the same plane as her. The Saint Lord then said, Princess Xia, if Shi-chan wins, you shall return the flames of the way. If you win, then the Shi clan shall never ask for the flames again, and I shall have Shi-chan apologize for her rude actions. What do you think about that? If it not for Xia Qingyuan and the others being from Emperor Xia's realm, the Saint Lord of Jiang would not have bothered being so polite. He would have simply taken them on right there and then. Of course, if that had been the case, Xia Qingyuan and the others would not have dared to maintain such a forceful attitude in the first place. They would have been forced to give up the flames. Xia Qingyuan looked up after hearing the Saint Lord of Jiang's words. Yi Futian then said, I'll do it. They did not object to the Saint Lord's proposal. Xia Qingyuan took a look at Yi Futian and then at Shi-chan. She said, mind your own business. She then looked up at the Saint Lord and said, very well then. The people around them got rather excited when they heard her agree, especially those who had been watching the entire time. They have long heard of Shi-chan's talents and powers. She was the most powerful member of the younger generation of the Shi clan. She had honed her flames of Jiuyang to frightening levels, making powers were unparalleled. Xia Qingyuan, on the other hand, was a princess from Emperor Xia's realm. They were rather curious as to how a princess from an imperial realm would fare against a genius from the Crimson Dragon realm. It seemed to them that a good show was about to start. The two women rose into the air. Futian basked in the flames like a goddess of the sun. She hovered high in the air as the scorching afternoon sun showered down on her. 9 suns appeared behind her and rotated. Raging flames emanated from behind her. The light from those flames was capable of burning anything it touched. The fire was imbued with the devastating might of the Great Path. Terrifying sunrays shot out at Xia Qingyuan. They could have burned her to death on the spot. Holy light glimmered all over Xia Qingyuan's body as will of calamity swordsmanship emanated from her. It turned into the light of calamity swordsmanship and fired out beams of sword wills, clashing with the sunrays. The collision created high-pitched noises. Futian did not expect to beat Xia Qingyuan with only that one move. Her body hovered in the air as the 9 suns circled her. The celestial bodies rotated and high above. Suns appeared in astounding numbers in the blink of an eye, shrouding the entire area and enveloping Xia Qingyuan. Every single sun harbored extremely ferocious flames. They were the flames of Zhiyang. Every single direct descendant of her family had trained in the flames of Zhiyang. The only thing that differed between them was their plane levels. Even though the flames that she'd conjured and honed were only of the proving holiness level, they were nonetheless tremendously devastating. The suns that surrounded Xia Qingyuan rotated shot down rays of light, trying to burn their target alive. Xichan's beautiful eyes looked as if they held suns inside them. She lifted her arms and fire of the sun coiled around her palms. She was out to see just how capable a princess of an imperial realm could be. Burn, said Xichan's saint-level spells were cast as the suns repeatedly fired beams of flames. They tore through the sky as they headed right for Xia Qingyuan. Ringing noises were heard in the air. It was difficult to imagine just how devastating the flames of the suns were. Futian looked at the battlefield from below and was rather startled. Xichan was more powerful than he had expected her to be. Top-notch clans who were trained in the power of the flames in Crimson Dragon Realm exhibited extremely proficient control and use of fiery powers. They were considered masters among masters in the art. Holy light dazzled over Xia Qingyuan as countless lotus flowers appeared around her. Those lotuses shielded her as they blossomed in the air. The beams of flames collided with them, making the petals ring intensely. However, the flowers remained intact instead of melting or burning away. The suns fired beams of even greater intensity, drowning the space and burying Xia Qingyuan completely. Xichan waved her hands, causing the suns in the air to merge. They turned into a gigantic sun and buried Xia Qingyuan. The air around them became extremely hot in an instant. It felt like everything was on the verge of melting down. Xia Qingyuan and her lotuses had been all but swallowed by the sun. At that moment, dazzling sword auras burst from the petals of the lotuses, especially from the one in the middle. Terrifying calamity swordsmanship pierced through the sun and shot outside. The number and intensity of the auras grew increasingly dramatically as they tried to tear everything apart. Within mere moments, the boundless sword auras tore the sun into pieces which then exploded with a loud noise. The lotuses blossomed to reveal an imposing figure standing at their center. It was none other than Xia Qingyuan. Xia Qingyuan stood on a lotus flower as countless others blossomed in the air. The will of calamity swordsmanship harbored extremely terrifying explosive capabilities. They became numerous enough to block out the sky in mere moments and headed straight for Xichan. Go! Xia Qingyuan pointed at Xichan. The boundless swords imbued with the worldly great path zipped past as they launched at Xichan. Xichan stepped aside as an extremely enraged aura burst from her body. It seemed as if a sun had appeared around her, shrouding her within. The space around the sun was burning red. When the swords reached her and pierced through the sun, they melted into nothing. The swords melted immediately. Xichan kept moving forward, forcefully making her way towards Xia Qingyuan. The flames of the sun were capable of melting everything in the world. The swords crumbled before the flames of Zhiyang. Xia Qingyuan frowned as boundless swords shot forward. They were all quickly destroyed when they hit the screen of the sun. It was her first time fighting with someone at her level. She'd never faced someone who was trained in such formidable powers as the art of flames. Furthermore, it seemed as if Shi-chan intended to fight up close and personal. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The flames on Shi-chan's body grew increasingly more powerful as the 9 suns rotated. She looked like a true goddess of the sun as she basked in the sun's flames. Devastating fiery waves swept out all around her. The flames on Shi-chan's body grew increasingly more powerful as the 9 suns rotated. She looked like a true goddess of the sun as she basked in the sun's flames. Devastating fiery waves swept out all around her. Boom! Shi-chan stepped forward and headed straight for Xia Qingyuan. The flames of Juyang burst devastatingly as soon as she stepped out, firing 9 beams of holy light straight at Xia Qingyuan. The lotus flower before Xia Qingyuan blossomed and blocked the beams, yet destructive heat waves still washed over her. The extremely dazzling figure of Shi-chan charged at her. It was as if Shi-chan had turned into a sun herself. Ferocious heat waves began engulfing the entire space before she even came close to Xia Qingyuan. Xia Qingyuan performed hand seals, causing countless lotuses to blossom around her in an instant. Calamity swordsmanship ebbed within the petals. Beams of destructive auras fired right at Shi-chan. However, Shi-chan ignored the attacks altogether as she continued to charge. Virm. She sensed that the raging waves sweeping toward her were out to destroy everything. Calamity swordsmanship burst out as the swords headed straight for Shi-chan. Shi-chan did not even slow down, zipping right through like a bolt of lightning to throw a punch. Her devastating flames contained terrifying explosive powers that wrecked the swords within mere moments. Divine body of 9 suns, Shi-chan muttered. Her body was like a sun at the moment. She activated the divine body of 9 suns, enabling her to pulverize everything before her through extremely destructive means. The swords were destroyed and the lotuses crumbled. Xia Qingyuan retreated as Shi-chan continued to press forward like a sun falling from the sky. Seemingly nothing could stop her. Explosions were heard as Xia Qingyuan's attacks continued to crumble. The holy light about her became even more brilliant. Lotus petals opened and closed until they melded into one single lotus flower. Thousands of swords flowed around her body, encircling her in an ever more powerful storm. Terrifying ringing noises were heard as the two of them chased one another in the air. Shi-chan basked in flames and charged forward like a fireball of the sun. At that moment, Xia Qingyuan finally retaliated. Xia Qingyuan pointed at Shi-chan below. Boundless swords appeared in an instant. They immediately transformed into a dragon of calamity. Catastrophic beams of terrifying intensity rained down from above. The swords then streaked downward in a frenzy, crashing into Shi-chan's body. The divine body of 9 suns broke and crumbled under the incoming attacks. However, that dragon seemed to be an indestructible being. It continued to roar and charge, engulfing the sky around them. The mighty beings from the Crimson Dragon army had yet to leave. They'd stayed around to prevent the battle above from harming the avenue below. Everyone watching the battle from the avenue felt astonished by what they saw happening above them. The duel between the two women was far more intense than they had expected it to be. Their attacks were nothing less than harrowing. Futian was also watching the battle closely. He was able to tell that Shi-chan was very powerful. Otherwise, the Saint Lord of Juyang of the Shi clan would not have allowed Shi-chan to fight Xia Qingyuan in the first place. He'd known that the daughter of a Renhuang would be anything but mediocre. It was a testament to his confidence in Shi-chan's powers. Furthermore, Shi-chan's plane was slightly higher than Xia Qingyuan's. It had not been long since she became a saint. She was still at proving holiness level and her aura was somewhat inferior as a result. At that moment, however, a beam of even greater brilliance fired from the sun. Shi-chan's divine body of the 9 suns charged forward and destroyed the dragon, ramming into Xia Qingyuan's body to crush her once and for all. However, at the very next moment, many of Xia Qingyuan's silhouettes appeared and stepped on the lotuses. The petals of the flowers howled with the might of the swords. Xichan stood at the center. Her sun goddess form was still incredibly dazzling. She scanned her surroundings, unable to tell which Xia Qingyuan was the real one. The silhouettes of Xia Qingyuan all performed hand seals at the same time. Powerful auras burst forward as the swords howled. The noises reverberated throughout their surroundings. Thousands of calamities, tens of thousands of shadows, all born of the lotus, many voices said at the same time, resonating with the world around them. More lotuses appeared in the sky. Xia Qingyuan was standing on every single flower. The place permeated with the truly stifling pressure of devastation. Countless lotus petals circled Xichan as the swords flowed around her. Both attacks grew in strength as they tried to engulf the area. The swords conjured devastating hurricanes. The hurricanes lashed out at Xichan. Every single hurricane was being conjured by the countless swords of calamity. Xichan charged through, intending to break through the blockade. Raging attacks bombarded the hurricanes around her. However, none were able to destroy the hurricanes. Worse still, she was almost caught in the hurricanes herself. Xia Qingyuan stood right outside the masses of hurricanes as she glared at her opponent. Her will resonated with the world around her. All things were interconnected through the Great Path. All phenomena and things were born of the Great Path. She looked like she had become the master of the Great Path at that very moment. The 9 suns were high in the sky as they surrounded Xichan. When she shouted, all 9 suns fired beams of flames. The hurricanes around her exploded in a frenzy, yet the hurricanes stayed intact as they were covered in flames. The flames made them stronger. They all headed for Xichan. Xichan looked rather pale at that moment. The Saint Lord of Zhiyang, who was watching from high above, was able to tell from her expression alone that Xichan had lost. This daughter of the Renhuang was one of the most powerful descendants of the Renhuang. Her combat prowess was tremendously formidable. As the most powerful force within Jinmu City, the Shi clan had frequent contact with the Renhuang forces. Not every single descendant of Renhuang was as powerful as her. That will be all, Xichan, the Saint Lord of the Zhiyang said. Xichan looked up into the sky. The devastating storms of the swords subsided and gradually dispelled. The glow of the sun around Xichan dimmed as well. She turned to glare at Xia Qingyuan. Xichan turned around and left right away without apologizing. It was apparent that she was incredibly irked. Xia Qingyuan had not really expected her to apologize. However, since the Shi clan had behaved so forcefully before and had wanted to fight their entire group, there was simply no way they would have handed the flames of the way over to the Shi clan. The mighty members of the Shi clan departed. The flames conjured in the sky by the Saint Lord of Zhiyang likewise disappeared without a trace. Xichan had lost. The Shi clan could never demand those flames from them ever again. Let's go, Futian said. He had intended to stay in Jinmu City for a while and see if there was anywhere in the lower parts of the city fit for training in the way of the flames. From the looks of things at the moment, however, it would be ill-advised to continue staying in Jinmu City. They had to return to Qianye City. Even though the flames were still with them, things had become quite tricky. Lord Yi. Some people blocked the way of Yi Futian's party, making him look up at the one who spoke. It was the young man who'd told Xichan to just take them away. Several imposing people were standing right behind the young man. It was apparent that they were from renowned clans. Many citizens from Jinmu City were able to recognize him. He was a member of the Chang clan, one of the most powerful groups in Jinmu City. They had amicable relations with the Shi clan and their bond ran rather deep. The young man was named Chang Huai and he was a saint with exceptional talents. He had been pursuing Xichan for quite a while, wanting to forge a marriage alliance between the Chang clan and the Shi clan. Yeah, Yi Futian said rather coldly. Chang Huai was the one who'd suggested that they take Yi Futian's party out, so Yi Futian saw no reason to be nice to him. I would like those flames. Would you mind naming a price, Lord Yi? We would like to get a fair trade underway, Chang Huai said with a smile to Yi Futian, appearing polite and amicable. He didn't have a single trace of the bullying attitude he'd displayed before. Not interested. Yi Futian refused the proposal right away, getting ready to walk past Chang Huai and his people. Chang Huai was dumbfounded for a brief moment. He then smiled and said, "Lord Yi, you're just a doctrine saint, yet you're already the lord of a city. It wouldn't be far-fetched to say that you're the first person to accomplish such a thing in the cities surrounding Crimson Dragon City. But then again, you're a saint who stands behind a woman. Don't you think there's something wrong with that?" Yi Futian's party stopped and Xia Qingyuan shot him a cold glance. "You've got a problem with that?" Yi Futian looked at Chang Huai as well, saying with a smile, "It must seem strange to someone who only gets close to women to use them, or to someone who does not even bother with them at all. I assume that you want the flames so you can give them to Shichan, right?" He then continued walking. Chang Huai had been right beside Shichan before, and it seemed that Shichan hadn't wanted anything to do with him. Seeing how Shichan and her people had been unable to take the flames, it made sense that Chang Huai was asking to trade for them to gain favor with her. Yi Futian and his people left. They flashed and zipped along the roads below, departing the area at breakneck speeds. Chang Huai smirked and said in a low voice after they left, "The Lord of Qinya City has a way of getting the people around him to work for him. I have to admit, that is a good ability indeed." Sending Yu Sheng into the regional palace, making Emperor Xia's realm back him up, having Yaya protect him while he's outside, and having Xia Qingyuan fight for him. He was capable of doing all of that, yet he'd made it unnecessary to do anything for himself. The people around Chang Huai listened to his words and concluded that this was indeed the case with Yi Futian. The man himself had hardly ever fought. No one knew how capable he was. Many who had watched the Battle of Crimson River claimed that, as city lord, his powers must be on par with Yu Sheng. After all, Yu Sheng had been doing his bidding. But then again, one would only be able to know how powerful he was with certainty from seeing him fight. Yi Futian hardly minded what Chang Huai said. Xia Qingyun shot a look at him after they left and said, "Don't mind what he said. You're the one who shouldn't mind, princess." Yi Futian smiled and did not say much after that. They were traveling at high speeds as they left Jinmu City. He turned his head around and took a look, feeling that it was quite a pity that they'd had to spend so many sacred spirit stones to gain entry. They would have to pay again if they ever wanted to come back. Yaya conjured a sword in the air. The party hopped onto it and disappeared in an instant. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Yi Futian's party returned to the city lord's office at Qianya City. Yi Futian's party returned to the city lord's office at Qianya City. Yi Futian pondered the star-plucking saint's intentions during the return trip. He was still puzzled as to why the saint had done that. From what Shenjun had told Yi Futian, the saint was powerful enough to take the flames of the way away, and the Saint Lord of Jiuyang wouldn't be able to do anything about it. The star-plucking saint's skill at transforming was peerless. No one knew if anyone in the Crimson Dragon realm less powerful than the Renhuangs would be able to capture him alive. Regardless, the Renhuang-level flames of the way were theirs. However, it was the backing of Emperor Xia's realm that had allowed him to pull what he'd pulled. It would have been nearly impossible for him to bring those flames back with him otherwise. The Shi clan would have been the first to get in his way. Yi Futian looked for Shen Tianzhan after he returned to the city lord's office to talk to him about it. He asked, "Do you have any idea what the star-plucking saint was actually up to?" Shen Tianzhan was at the same level as the star-plucking saint. He might be able to share some insights about the enigmatic saint. However, Shen Tianzhan simply shook his head and said, "The star-plucking saint has always kept to himself. No one knows what he is up to. But then again, I have heard that he once went to the ancient imperial city intending to steal something, but he failed. Furthermore, it is said that there is a very high possibility that he was injured in the fight with the ninth servant. As for the flames, do you mind if I take a look at them?" Shen Tianzhan said. Yi Futian nodded and took the flames of the way out. Terrifying heat radiated from them and swept all over the place. The light of the flames shot to the heavens. Shen Tianzhan's pupils dilated slightly as he sensing the will of the great path within the flames. He then said, "Put it away." Yi Futian put the flames away. Shen Tianzhan continued, "The flames were something left behind by Emperor Qua. If you're able to internalize the flames, you will be able to head to the 9 tribes of the Kwa and have the chance to enter the territory of Emperor Kwa. Yi Futian was puzzled after hearing Shen Tianzhan's words. He asked, "So you're saying that there are other uses for the flames? That they allow passage into a Renhuang territory?" He recalled the moment right after he'd acquired the flames when Zhuo Su of the Black Flame clan had asked if he could take a look at the flames. Zhuo Su was a descendant of Renhuang. The Black Flame clan was a top-notch force. This meant that Zhuo Su had been able to figure out a thing or two about the flames, driving him to make such a seemingly stupid request. Yi Futian had not bothered with him back then. Indeed. Shen Tianzhan nodded and said to Yi Futian, "The flames of the way of Emperor Kwa appear once every few years. There is rarely more than one wisp of the flames to be found at a time. However, many would have appeared at the same time in the Crimson Dragon realm. All the top-notch forces throughout the realm were out to get them secretly. Some groups obtained some and then lost them before they were able to do anything. Some traded them away to make extreme profits. In the end, a handful was taken away for training purposes, while the rest were used to gain access to the 9 tribes of the Kwa. And I just happened to pick this up for free?" Yi Futian asked. Shen Tianzhan looked rather puzzled by the question. He'd indeed been lucky in an eerie, unnerving way. He wondered if the star-plucking saint had indeed set up the events to play out this way. The Saint Lord of Juyang probably decided to not turn hostile against you because of your identities and backgrounds. But having lost the flames to you, the Shi clan will try to get the flames elsewhere, Shen Tianzhan said. After all, Yi Futian was not the only one in possession of flames left behind by Emperor Kwa. The flames had appeared all over the place in the past. "Where are the 9 tribes?" Yi Futian asked. "They are found in the western regions of Crimson Dragon realm. That place used to be the territory of Emperor Kwa. The current 9 tribes are 9 of the major forces in Crimson Dragon realm. They are all very powerful. They're like our cities here," Shen Tianzhan elaborated. Yi Futian nodded. Forces that had once served directly under the Renhuang territory would undoubtedly be extremely formidable. Seems like there will be secret fights over the flames starting in the Crimson Dragon realm again. "We'd better watch ourselves out there," Shen Tianzhan said. Despite what he'd said, the people of Crimson Dragon realm would hesitate to make a move against them. However, it was still prudent to be cautious. Many would guess that Yi Futian had gotten his hands on flames of the way of Emperor Kwa. Even Zhuo Su had begun to have his suspicions. "Will do." Yi Futian nodded. He had no intention of leaving Qinye City just yet. "Try and see if you can do anything with the flames. I've heard that the flames pick their masters," Shen Tianzhan said. "All right." Yi Futian nodded and left. Yi Futian went to a training ground and temporarily sealed the place off. He then took out the flames. They began to warm the entire place with their scorching heat within mere moments, filling the entire space. A scorching aura of extreme intensity swept throughout the place. Yi Futian closed his eyes and extended his holy will into the flames as, melding with it, his will circled the flames and sensed the powers within. He then seeped into the flames properly bit by bit. Yi Futian sensed the flames' terrifying will of devastation within a split second. He felt as if his will was about to be burned to cinders. The flames of the way were, in truth, something materialized from the will of the Great Path. The flames had been conjured without any will of attack. However, he nonetheless still felt as if his will was about to be reduced to nothing just by getting near the flames. Yi Futian did not try to work on it. Holy light sparkled at the center of his brow. His body was then bathed in divine essence and became extremely brilliant. Divine Imperial will shot out and entered the flames, sensing the might of the flames from within. Yi Futian was immediately able to sense an extremely elegant and magnificent image. A godlike silhouette stood tall and proud beside the sun high above. He seemed to be devouring the fires of the sun. The celestial body, which hung high in the sky, burned with true fires, melding with the body of the god of war. The god of war's eyes turned even more brilliant than the sun. It was as if one look from him could make the world burn. In comparison, Yi Futian discovered just how insignificant and weak his sun life spirit was. It was no wonder that other cultivators had gained abilities to communicate and manipulate the world around them when they reached the Saint Plane or even the Renhuang Plane. They had forged their ways and methods into their life spirits, which could then be passed down to the later generations. When one reached such plane levels, they transcended. The ability to absorb the fires of the sun was extremely formidable and overwhelming on its own. The abilities of those trained by the Shi clan were similar. It was no wonder that they wanted the flames back so badly. It must have caused them quite a bit of heartache to part with those flames. As he sensed all of this, the will of the great path in the flames shot into Yi Futian's will and melded with it. At that very instant, the holy brilliance of the Renhuang showered onto Yi Futian's body. It was as if he had earned the approval of the flames. The flames ceased to hurt Yi Futian directly. He began to try to internalize the flames of the way into himself, sensing and absorbing the powers within. Others were incapable of learning such overpowering ways of training. They would only be able to slowly communicate and work with the flames. No one else could bash into it as he could. He spent quite a long time afterward training in isolation, internalizing the flames and attempting to forge his own. It was not that he would be training with the very flames that he worked with and internalized. Depending on his level of comprehension, he would be able to create a new one that belonged only to him. Everyone was capable of comprehending the experiences of those who came before them, but their training had to be uniquely their own nonetheless. Someone arrived at the city lord's office of Qinya City while he was training, claiming that they wanted to trade for the flames. None of them thought that Yi Futian would train in the powers of the flames, so they thought that the flames would be of little use to him. They hoped that they would be able to get the flames at a high price, but their proposal was rejected right away. Other than the scuffles and skirmishes that broke out time and again between the top-notch forces in Crimson Dragon City, hardly any clashes occurred. It was as if the fight for the flames was taking place in secret. But then again, none of that had anything to do with Yi Futian. Shen Tianzhan came looking for Yi Futian one day and told him a piece of news. Many of the top-notch forces in Crimson Dragon City and the surrounding cities were departing. Yi Futian also decided to depart right away and make the trip with Shen Tianzhan. The territory of Emperor Kwa consisted of ruins left by Emperor Kwa. There was no way he would miss seeing it. A city known as Emperor Kwa's city was located in the western regions of Crimson Dragon Realm. The old city had once been the residence of Emperor Kwa. The 9 tribes who served Emperor Kwa were tasked to stand guard around the city. Emperor Kwa's city had recently become extremely lively. People of the top-notch forces from all over Crimson Dragon City were going there. The people of the city could guess why they were there. Emperor Kwa's city had a rustic feel to it. Emperor Kwa's castle stood within the city. There was a skyscraping statue of Emperor Kwa basking in boundless fires right in front of the castle. His likeness stood tall and proud, looking very alive. Mighty members of the Shi clan, who had recently fought Yi Futian over the flames, were one of the forces found there. Shi Chan was there as well. After the flames were taken away by Yi Futian, the Shi clan paid a great price to get themselves another wisp of the flames of Emperor Kwa before coming to the city. Shi Chan stood before Emperor Kwa's statue and displayed the Renhuang will about her. There were many around who extended invitations to her. All of them were members of the 9 tribes that had once served the emperor. Yi Futian and Shen Tianzhan were there as well. Shen Tianzhan learned a lot about the matter and explained quite a bit about the ruins of Emperor Kwa on their way to the city. In addition to Yi Futian, there were many people from other forces there as well. The Chang clan of Jinmu City was there too. Mighty figures from Flaming Prison City and Crimson Cloud City were also present. Yi Futian was wondering just how many wisps of the flames of the way Emperor Kwa had developed. Go! Getting into the ruins requires support from the 9 tribes, and their powers complement each other. The 9 tribes are not of the same level. They often compete with each other. I have introduced the tribes to you before. It'd be best for you to work with the strongest tribe, Shen Tianzhan told Yi Futian telepathically. Yi Futian nodded and walked up to the statue of Emperor Kwa. Holy light shrouded his body. He looked as if he was basking in divine, fiery light. And you are. Many pairs of eyes turned toward Yi Futian. Yi Futian, city lord of Qinya, Yi Futian replied. The people nodded at once. Those of the 9 tribes stared at him, seemingly watching him while weighing their options. They were wondering if Yi Futian was someone worth extending their invitations to. They had naturally paid attention to news from Crimson Dragon City. Yi Futian of Qinye City hailed from Emperor Xia's realm, but they knew little of his powers. They knew only that he had defeated Shinjun, son of Shin Tianzhan. He had also killed the young palace lord of the Bliss Palace. However, those achievements hardly seemed worth mentioning. At the very least, he appeared to pale significantly in comparison to Yu Sheng, who had participated in the Battle of Crimson River. That was why the tribes were wondering if Yi Futian was someone worth betting on. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.